I think it's safe to say that going into the derby, it had everyone sort of fearing the worst. That Brighton game just left us feeling like this United team, no matter who's in charge, we were just going to sink deeper and deeper. But fair play to Carrick and these United players. They were well set up and the players executed the plans perfectly and showed every bit of the hunger and desire you need to get a big derby win. It was clear that without the ball, United would follow a similar blueprint to what Ole and Ten Hag used previously up against Pep City to get a win. We could press in certain moments, like from goal kicks or pouncing on opposition errors, but other than that then, we largely sat in that mid-block in the 4-4-2, denying any central passing lanes. It meant the City had a ton of possession, but they rarely got into any dangerous areas in those half spaces or in United's box. And as Neville pointed out on commentary, City were very reluctant simply just to cross the ball in. So all that meant then that they could pass the ball back and forth around United's mid-block. But again, United were largely comfortable for most parts of the game. And this was an example of United's press, and we did it quite well early on, putting pressure on City's quite young back line. As Mbeumo here is blocking off one side of the pitch, I'm going to highlight Ahmad because I think the work that he did was very underrated in this game. I think that obviously people talk about Fernandes and Mbeumo, Dorgu, the running that they got into, but Ahmad I think did exactly the same thing as well, and his tireless work off the ball just allowed United to get into a lot of really good positions. But here, as the ball comes out to the City centre-back, out to the left-hand side, Fernandes does a very, very good job, obviously, of coming over to mark him, stopping that ball going into the central spaces, and that allows Ahmad then to go, run, put pressure on Nathan Ake, and then United can go and win that ball back. And this is an example of how Ahmad in the press was very, very useful. At times he was going back and helping out with Dorgu, with Dalot as well, so it wasn't just the work that Dorgu did on the left-hand side that was very good out of possession. Ahmad as well on the right-hand side. I mean, everyone as a collective for United in this game defensively was superb. You can see United here in that 4-4-2 mid-block, denying any central passing lanes. You've got the passing option out to Dorgu, but United were largely happy for the ball to go out into those wide areas. They could get Ahmad and Dalot out to him then very quickly. And as I've said, with City reluctant to cross that ball in, there wasn't much jeopardy in the ball going out wide. So the ball ended up keeping on either going back to the centre-backs or out wide in these sort of areas then. And United were largely comfortable. And in this example, I'm going to keep running it on. United were able to push City back. And this was an example of how we were able to frustrate City really in this game. As the ball again goes back into Nathan Ake, you can see Mino and Casemiro, they're ready to pounce now. They can sense that United are forcing City back a little bit more so they can advance in their position, and then they're not just sitting on their own box. As you run it on, you can see Mbeumo and Ahmad pushing up a little bit more again. Mino and Casemiro quite advanced. You're locking off any options for City to turn and run on United's back line. Casemiro pouncing in this instance. And then Lewis from that left back spot, you just have very limited options. You could go into Dorgu, but Dalot's cutting off that option. Fernandes doing really well in order to make sure even if Rodri gets that ball, Fernandes is on him. So it ends up then Lewis playing that ball down the line. Maguire can get that ball back for United. A prime example of how we just suffocated this City team and just didn't allow them any easy pathways into our box. And I've spoken about Ahmad, but having Dorgu playing left wing, I think it did have a lot of us scratching our heads before the game, but it worked perfectly. Not only did Dorgu have one of his best games offensively, he also did so much of the dirty work off the ball then. He was helping Luke Shaw with Semenyo whenever he could. Then also then his positioning a little bit deeper on the pitch just meant that Ahmad could push up a little bit higher on the other side as well. And then also you're looking at it, this is a prime example of sniffing out the danger, and it's probably something that Cunha is not going to do. Him being just obviously more offensively minded, he's just not going to sense these sort of dangers. So Dorgu here, as the ball comes into a pretty dangerous area, this is one of the only times that Rodri's able to pass into those sort of half spaces. But then Dorgu is able to get back very quickly, work alongside Mino to win that ball back. And Dorgu is the one then eventually who's able to get United playing further forward. It's this sort of defensive work, and also offensively the fact that Dorgu is not going to wander too much. He's going to stick onto his left-hand side, giving United the width on that side. Obviously, if Cunha was playing there, Cunha liked the roam in field. So Dorgu being out there just allowed United then to stretch the pitch a little bit more. his rigid positioning allowed Ahmad to push on. I mean, from Carrick, we questioned it a lot before the game, but having Dorgu playing left mid, it did really work in this one. With the ball, it was clear that United would do all that they could to try and exploit that City high line. And this was, I think, the second goal that got disallowed for United, but we were so close to springing that offside trap and really just getting more goals than what we did in this game. But Fernandes and Mbeumo also were just finding that space in behind Rodri, causing City all sorts of problems, and they never really found a solution for it. And Mbeumo up top, again, was another masterstroke, because playing him over the likes of Seshko or Cunha, it just allowed to have someone in there who's really comfortable receiving in deeper areas. But then he also gives you that endless running on both sides of the ball as well then. And Mbeumo could make the runs in behind City, but then he could also do the very dogged, dirty work when United didn't have the ball as well. So having him in there over the likes of Seshko Cunha just allowed those sort of actions to happen. And then you obviously adding in the fact then you can bring Cunha on at the end of the game. His cameo was very, very good. It stretched City's tired legs, and it's just really everything went Carrick's way in this one. And this was an example of United finding that space, because Dorgu plays the ball into Casemiro. Casemiro's able to play the ball first time in behind Rodri. Fernandes picking up that space then. The centre-backs didn't want to go in. Rodri, you can exploit the space in behind him. Fernandes, as he picks up that ball, he can play Dalot in on the right-hand side. United immediately in a very dangerous area. Ahmad plays that ball into Mbeumo, just about gets the ball cleared. And United might not have had a ton of the ball, but we definitely had a lot more of the dangerous attacks. And it was either one of Fernandes or Mbeumo dropping a little bit deeper to combine with the midfield that caused a lot of these attacks. Combine that then with really trying to exploit that City high line. United did really cause havoc on City's defence throughout the game, and if it wasn't for Donnarumma, United would have had a lot more goals as well. But it's another instance of Casemiro finding one of the two up top. Fernandes is making that little bit of a run, separating himself from Mbeumo. The ball goes into Mbeumo. Lovely little first-time ball around the corner. This was, I think, United's first disallowed goal. Fernandes playing that ball into Ahmad. Just a tiny little bit offside. We almost sprung that offside trap, but it was Mbeumo and Fernandes causing these sort of problems all game long. And I've highlighted Mbeumo and Fernandes because they combine excellently to really get a proper United goal for United's first. As the ball is cleared by Maguire, Mbeumo plays a lovely little ball around the corner to Fernandes. And the work that Fernandes does, really just delaying the pass more and more, it just allows United to get into a very dangerous position. But United have numbers straight off first and foremost to really get that counter-attacking goal really working. But Fernandes, he carries the ball right the way up into this area. But the work that he does just before he passes the ball to Mbeumo, it looks really simple, but it's super underrated. Fernandes takes a little bit of a touch to the right-hand side, and he starts looking as if he's going to pass it out to Ahmad on that right-hand side. But that's what then really unsettles Kusanov, gets him a little bit unbalanced, and then Fernandes can play that reverse ball then into Mbeumo, and getting Kusanov just that little bit off his feet, just a little bit changing his hips a little bit. It just means that Mbeumo can have that extra bit of time and space to slot that ball past Donnarumma then. Fernandes, absolutely excellent in creating that little bit of a space for Mbeumo, and Mbeumo slots it off, and those two combining for the first United goal, I mean, it sums up the work that they both did in this game. There was really those two in attack that combined for most of what was good for United. They were excellent in this game. And we know that there's obviously going to be so many more questions for Carrick's United going forward. How they handle the pressure, obviously, away from home up against Arsenal next week. How they deal with games further on where they're expected to have more of the ball. There's going to be so many more question marks. But in terms of the first game in charge, it couldn't have really gone much better. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, guys, drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here. I'll catch you in the next one.